Hey everybody, welcome. As I look to share this, hopefully with no problems. But yeah, welcome. And as you could see here, again, gonna see what. Oh, there's the share button. Sorry. And sorry for any delays or anything, but yeah, I wanted to come on here and welcome. It is Monday morning. It is around 9 o'clock Pacific time on this Monday, the last Monday in September. Basically, what is it, the 27th, as I make sure everything is adjusted here. Hold on, guys. All right, there we go. There we go. Just making sure everything's adjusted. All right. Yeah, but welcome. Welcome to the live stream. And yeah, as the title says, I'm here to talk more on My Little Pony, a new generation that debuted this past weekend. Here in North America on Netflix, as well as debuted on various other Netflix services across the world, as well as did debut in some cinemas across the world as well. And I would not be surprised if some selective theaters here in the U.S. released it as well, although they may not say who they are or may not advertise who they are. I can kind of tell that may have been what happened. Anyway, and I do apologize if you hear any bumping or anything. My dog's walking around right now. Very ironic. I do the live stream and all of a sudden she wakes up, which is okay. She probably has to go to the bathroom in a little bit or something, but she went this morning, so I don't know. Yeah, but she's just walking around. She's just sniffing. Um. Anyway, though, like I said, just wanted to, do this live stream today to talk more about the movie because, despite all the, videos I did on Friday and into Saturday about the film itself, there's still a lot to talk about at times, or at least go over again, as far as, the movie is concerned. For example, like I said, I stick by what I said in the film, or not in the film, but in my initial review. I stick by that by saying that it's a good film. It's a really good film. I highly recommend checking it out because it's one of those films that when you watch it, you kind of see that it does have the vibe of Generation 4, Friendship is Magic, but it's also trying to be its own thing. Like I said, I feel that, what I sense out of it is it's a continuation of Friendship is Magic, but it's also a origin story for Gen 5. That's the feeling I get out of it. That's the feeling I get out of it. Basically, that it kind of serves like an origin story to Gen 5, to an to more of an extent than I think we anticipated, but it does feel like it's a continuation of Gen 4 because you get all these little Easter eggs, in there and stuff, and I think that's just tremendous that you get to see that. And I do apologize for any lag going on, guys. I do apologize for that. It says YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, and I don't know why that is. But just that's how it is when you use OBS Studio, to have pictures and everything at the same time you're talking about something. But yeah, basically. But basically, And I'm gonna apologize, guys, in a minute, because like I said, I may have to put my dog out for a second because she's walking around. And normally, as I've mentioned before here on the live streams or any videos, when she walks around, sometimes it kind of like distracts you a little bit. Mainly because one time she had an accident in my mom's room when my mom was in there and everything because she had to go and she couldn't get out of the room, so she went in there and my mom's like keep an eye on her kind of deal. So yeah, it's one of those situations. But anyway, though, like I said, the movie is really good. I mean, I highly recommend checking it out if you've not seen it yet. But by now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have. As a matter of fact, if there is if there's one thing that a lot of the YouTubers I've subscribed to like to have sponsor them, it's either ExpressVPN or Surfshark, because that allows people to I guess change their router location or whatever and be able to view stuff from another country. So if that's something that everybody in other countries are using, and I have a feeling they may have used that to basically um, you know watch the film, if you will. So that's just my assumption. Watch the film basically from the comfort of their home. Not saying that's the case or anything. Uh, but like I said, overall the movie is really good. It's like I said, it's highly recommended, and as I mentioned, it feels like it feels kind of like a hybrid of it's a continuation of Gen 4, but it's also an origin for Gen 5 to go and be its own thing. But along with the movie, as as good as it was, along with the movie, there are still some questions that obviously need to be answered. And hold on for a sec while I check something. Be right back. Yeah, sorry about that. Let me adjust my headset here again. There we go. Just want to make sure everything is adjusted here. Sorry about that. Finished at the mic there. That's a little too high, so we're going to lower that. There we go. Yeah, I just want to make sure everything is good. But yeah, like I said, it's a good movie and everything, and you can sense that, as I was saying, it's an origin story that has its own, it's an origin story, but it has continuing connections to Gen 4. It's a Gen 4, The Friendship is Magic. So I think, and that's one thing that I think a lot of people appreciated about this film. Now, long story short, long story short, As I've mentioned in another video that I did separately, and other people have agreed and have pointed this out as well in their own reviews, either here on YouTube or in places like the MLP forums, the forums at Equestria Daily, the on DeviantArt and all that. If there's one thing a lot of people did point out about the film that they feel it did great, but also did kind of like, okay, why did you leave that, unanswered, or why didn't you answer that properly? It's basically, it raised a lot of questions, is what it did. It raised a lot of questions to what was going on. Basically, I'm sorry, my finger at the mic there. A lot of fans were, curious about, okay, how did this, all come about? It's like, how did this happen? How did that happen? Kind of deal. Like, but it's like one of the main things they ask is, how did any of this dissension, with the ponies occur? It's like, how did the ponies become so, distant, from each other, that, or distrusting of each other, that basically, that basically, everything that because if it's supposed to have a connection with Gen 4, it's like, well, how did this all get screwed up if at the end of Gen 4 it was established that peace had been, obtained, that peace had been obtained thanks to Twilight and her friends. And the only thing we can think of is going off of what Hitch said in a scene that, after the commotion that Sonny had caused at the Cantalogic presentation. And basically that is the fact that Hitch mainly said, and this is way before he started to believe it himself finally, he basically said that, every story that, that Sonny's father had told her, when she was a filly, was stories that every pony, every Earth pony, Unicorn pony, Pegasus pony, that basically every pony tells their fillies or colts, to put them to bed, to get them to go to sleep at night. Basically it's bedtime stories, fairy tales. And he called them foal stories. That's FOAL stories, or foal tales, as he called it. Foal tales, foal stories. Basically the equivalent of fairy tales, fairy tales, myths, legends, whatever. And when Hitch basically told her that for me and a lot of other people that kind of speculated something like that was going on here, that was confirmation, because now, we see that in this generation, it's so far off into the future that not only has technology advanced more so than it did in Friendship is What I'm trying to say is, not only has technology advanced, beyond basically what it was, in Friendship is Magic, as we saw in Manhattan and places like that, but that we also see technology has come a long way for places like Maritime Bay, which is kind of like a Ponyville place, a place that's like Ponyville and everything. Obviously technology has come, such a long way in various parts of Equestria that obviously, and I'm just checking my dog there to make sure she doesn't do anything. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at is a lot of time has gone by, obviously, to the point that, not only has technology advanced in all parts of the world, or in the world, but that now also a lot of the stories of Twilight and her friends, her companions, if you will, Celestia, Luna, Cadence, Starlight, Tempest Shadow, Sunset, that all of that has become nothing more than myth and legend. And as Hitch put it, basically foil, Philly stories or Philly tales, foil, F-O-A-L, foil tales, foal stories, if you will, that it's gotten to that point now that, and hold on for a second. Sorry about that. It just got a package delivered. I don't know what it is with the USPS lately, but it seemed, and that's just my dog barking. She keeps barking after somebody arrives or something. But anyway, like I said, let me make sure everything's adjusted here. Everything is good. All right. But it's just gotten to the point that obviously it's so far into the future that again, as I was trying to say, just based off what Hitch told Sonny, my dog's just continually barking. But like I said, I'm sorry about that. It seems every time I do a live stream, it's like I can't do a live stream properly. I don't know why. It's always something, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And I know you're probably wondering why you say it like that. I said, and I know you're probably thinking, oh, why are you saying it's a good thing? It's a good thing like that all the time. Trust me. I know. But anyway, she's just continuing. But anyway, I was trying to say is, just based off what Hitch told Sonny, it's gotten to a point that now the tales of Twilight, Rarity, Twilight, Rarity, Applejack, Fluttershy, Pinky, Spike, Starlight, Sunset, they've all become basically that of legend, of myth, basically as I think Hitch put it, full, as I tried to say, full stories, full tales, if you will. So, yeah. That's basically about it. Basically about it. What I'm trying to say is I'm sorry for the distraction. I do apologize. I know it's throwing me off. It throws anybody off when that happens. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing, Lord. It's a good thing. I do apologize for that. But anyway, she's just doing her job. She's defending the house. Anyway, though, as I was trying to say, and I should check if you guys can hear me. If you guys can, there it is. I don't know why YouTube does this on the things. I don't know why. Well, it gets commercials, so obviously. Yeah, I do apologize. Anyway, though. Okay, just making sure you guys can hear me. Anyway, though, like I was saying, and I do apologize for all this. Again, I don't know what it is with these live streams. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is with these live streams. It's always like you get some kind of interruption of some kind, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But like I was saying, basically, a lot of time has gone by, basically, in this movie, obviously, to where now everybody, including Hitch, coming out and telling Sonny it straight up that, hey, what your dad told you about these ponies of legend and all that, that it's nothing more than fairy tales, basically. And that, and if that kind of gives you, and I do apologize for getting distracted like I am. She's just, hold on for a second. Sorry about that. Like I said, she's just doing her job. Got a package dropped off, and again, I don't know what that is about the USPS. It's like they love to drop stuff off when you least expect it. Anyway, though, what was I? Oh yeah, let me finally get to the point here because I know I spent many minutes talking about it, and you're probably thinking, "Get to the point, Brian. Get to the point." All right, the point is, as I said in my review, um, obviously a lot of time, and I even did a video on this. That a lot of time has gone by to where what we saw in Friendship is Magic has become myth and legend, in Generation 5. Basically, it's become full stories, FOAL, full stories, full tales, fairy tales, if you will, bedtime stories, whatever you want to call them. And this is how Hitch basically explains to Sonny that, in his way, he understands what she wants to do, but by doing this, she's isolating herself from a lot of people. And does she want to risk the chance that she could lose him and have a complete isolation, from all of Maritime Bay? Because if there's one thing about Sonny and her father that we learn about at the beginning of the film, is basically they are strong believers that every pony race can get along like they used to. But because of the fact that so much time has passed, so much time has passed, in Equestria between Generation 4 and 5, that what happened in Generation 4, like I said, seems to have become that of myth and legend. And it, the one question that a lot of people were asking, it was, well, how far into the future has it been? How far into the future has it been? And one thing a lot of people have suspected, basically, one thing I wouldn't say. Well, yeah, one thing some people have suspected is it has to be quite far into the future for what happened in Gen 4 to become that of myth and legend. That's what it is. It's like, it had, so far, so much time into the future had to have gone by that, what has become, what has been done in Generation 4 is now looked up as, myth, as fairy tale and all that. And here's the thing, we kind of got an idea of that being possible. We got an idea of that being possible in Friendship is Magic, because if you remember in part 1 of Shadow Play, when you had basically Spike, Rainbow. Okay, what is it? Main 6, main 2, main 8. Okay, when you had Rainbow, Spike, Applejack, Rarity, Pinky, Flutter, 6. Yeah. When you had 6 out of the main seven, if you will, or main eight, depending how you look at it. Excuse me. When you had six of the main eight, you were going on these quests to find these artifacts of the pillars to kind of bring them back out to basically help Twilight, bring them back out of limbo. Um, it's during Applejack's quest where, basically we find out from this panthologist or a panthologist or archaeologist pony, that basically the tales of of Rockhoof to her are of myth and legend and preposterous. That is until she sees what Applejack does to save them from a falling rock, boulder, if you will. And then, because of that, the little cavern or cave being uncovered opens up, and there you see Rockhoof's shovel, and this is where, and then that's where the archaeologist pony finally starts to realize, maybe some legends are indeed true. And then when Applejack picks up the shovel, if you will, and it starts to glow, that's when the archaeologist is like, that's when the archaeologist is like, oh, and Rockhoof, and basically that's when the archaeologist realizes, and Rockhoof might be as well. Basically, she starts to acknowledge that Rockhoof, being a real person, and the stories about him being real, are not legend at all. That they indeed, are fact. That they indeed did happen. And for her to come out and acknowledge that in the film, yeah, that's a good suggestion, my friend. But basically, I keep it open because I never get to have it open that much when my mom's home or anybody else is visiting. So I like to keep it open so that way I can be out and about and know what's going on. It just happens when you do live streams or regular videos anyway. A friend suggesting I should keep the the door to my room closed, but again, it's just one of those situations. And it looks like coming off Facebook, I got excellent connection now, or so okay. But anyway, like I said, the archaeologist pony is like, after Applejack saves her, and then and then the cavern opens up, and we see the Rockhoof shovel, and then Applejack grabs it, and it starts glowing. That's when the archaeologist pony is like, maybe some legends are true, and perhaps Rockhoof's is as well. In other words, she starts to realize, okay, maybe there is truth, if not total truth, to to the legend of Rockhoof and what he's done. And and with me bringing that up, like I said, that kind of gives us an idea that even in Friendship is Magic, that after so much time has passed, that even certain true stories could become myths and legends. Like I said in that one video where I theorized of how many years went by, I used the Bible, if you will, as an example. And basically I said I said basically in that video that there's a lot of people that will look at that Bible and look at all the books in the Bible, all the chapters and verses and all that. And there's a lot of folks, more than you want to imagine, that believe every single word that is mentioned in that Bible. No matter what version you have, everybody, more than you want to imagine, believe everything that's in that book. And that is a fact, because we, myself and other religious people, Christian, Catholics, whatever, we understand that everything there indeed happened. So we're not, hold on, what happened here? Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know what just happened. I just went offline for a second. That was weird. Hope you guys. Am I still connected, guys? Let me know. It was weird. It just went offline for a second. Oh, I see. My computer's loading. One of the things the computer likes to do is knock me offline a little bit. It likes to knock me offline. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, I don't want to get copyrighted here. I don't know why they put that song in there. Yeah, okay, I'm still connected. Just want to make sure. I was checking my stream on my TV, but yeah, that was weird. Again, I think what it was is my computer at times. I guess it doesn't matter what browser, but it's mostly, it's mostly like, I would assume it's mostly like, Microsoft Edge. That when a computer or a laptop likes to load sometimes, it's going to knock out your internet. It's going to knock you. It's not. It's going to knock out your internet temporarily. I don't know why it does that. Let me know if it's ever happened to you where your computer or your laptop loads, and it knocks you off your internet or your Wi-Fi temporarily, then brings it back up. But anyway, what I was saying. Oh yeah. Basically, this is not the first time we learn about the fact that you know after so much time has passed, that certain stories that happen could be true. Like I was trying to say before I got knocked off there temporarily. Basically, the Bible, and again, it doesn't matter, what version of the Bible you have, or what, belief um, what part of the religion, Christian related religion you are, Catholic, Catholic, Presbyterian, whatever, or full on Christian. But basically, the point I'm getting at is everybody, more than you want to know, believe everything that the Bible says. Everything that in the book of the Bible, in the books of the Bible, they believe every word that is said in there. Every verse, every chapter, every verse, everything. Because ironically, when you look at certain verses and you look at what's going on in the world right now, yeah, it really will. It'll really make you jump out of your skin, almost being like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that happened," or "I didn't even realize it's a connection," or the fact that everything that's going on now was pretty much talked about here, or at least alluded to here, and to an extent. So so basically, like I said, there's more people than you know that believe everything that's said in that book or in that Bible. However, as I said in the one video, the reason I brought it up, in that video, and I'm bringing it up here, is because to counter the fact that you have a lot of people, more than you want to give credit for, that believe every word that's been jotted down in that book from Genesis to Revelation. There are folks, unfortunately, that don't believe everything in that book, that don't believe every word from Genesis to Revelation, and that they look at those stories from Genesis to Revelation as the same way that it's depicted, in the movie, by what Hitch says, by what was pretty much alluded to in Shadow Play Part 1 with that uh, archaeological pony saying what she did to Applejack. Basically, there are a lot of people, unfortunately, that don't believe a word, out of the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, because just like as depicted in the movie, and as I said, just depicted with that archaeologist's pony to Applejack and Shadow Play Part 1, a lot of people look at every story in the Bible, despite the fact that they are true. Let's not deny that. They look at them as fairy tales, as folklore, as myths, as urban legends, as too unbelievably possible to even be true. And you get that feeling here in New Generation, with Hitch saying what he does to Sonny, that, those stories your dad told you about Twilight and her friends and Celestia and Luna and Cadence, they're nothing but folklore. The full tales, fairy tales, bedtime stories. That is until later on he starts believing it himself, because he starts to see for himself that maybe there is indeed truth. And if that's not enough, we see all the evidence around in the movie, the Easter eggs, the acknowledgments and everything, that everything did happen. I mean, when they made it, okay, here's the thing: when Izzy and when Izzy and Sonny, that's what I was trying to say. I almost had a brain fart there. Let me get some coffee here. But when Izzy and Sonny meet up with Zip, and Zip frees them out of the little prison, which, believe it or not, for a prison in a royal palace, they obviously treat the prisoners very well. We'll put it that way. But anyway, when Zip takes them to the abandoned hangar where she goes to get away from all the craziness, we pretty much get the idea that this is an abandoned Wonderbolts Academy hangar, and that this Zephyr Heights possibly was once perhaps Rainbow Falls. Or I think that's what it was. I think that's what it was called, right? Rainbow Falls? I think. I gotta look that up. Well, not Rainbow Falls, but basically where Rainbow Dash would live, or at least in that vicinity. It's like one of the Pegasite cities in the clouds in Equestria, and we know that the Wonderbolts, based off season 4 and 5 with the Rainbow Falls episode with the Rainbow Falls episode that I just mentioned or acknowledged, we know that the Wonderbolts, have academies all over Equestria. So obviously this is a Wonderbolt Academy. However, what is it doing in Zephyr Heights? How did it get there? Was Zephyr Heights built on what was Rainbow Falls? Was it built on, basically where, the Pegasite city of where, the Pegasite home of, where Rainbow Dash and everybody lived? We don't know. We don't know. But obviously, the Wonderbolts had an academy at Zephyr Heights, or at least in the location in which Zephyr Heights was built upon. Now, now with that pretty much thrown in there, and the fact that we see on numerous occasions Twilight's own cutie mark, it really makes you wonder, how far into the future it's been. To the point that, as Hitch put it, a lot of ponies, doesn't matter what race they are, look at the escapades, the adventures of Twilight and her friends as fairy tales, as, folklore and all that. Now, my thought process, Cloudsdale, thank you, Cloudsdale. Yeah, what I was trying to say is you gotta wonder if Zephyr Heights was built on Cloudsdale, built on top of Cloudsdale, or where Cloudsdale used to be, or maybe the fact that it's just another place where the Wonderbolts have an academy. But again, you look at all that, you look at the fact that, this academy, this Wonderbolts hangar looks so abandoned and out of it, but it's got all this, Easter eggs and all these mementos of the movie, from the series G4 that is, that you have to think to yourself, how far into the future has it been? How far into the future has it been to where, this is to where either Zephyr Heights was built upon Cloudsdale, or it was another city that we've never seen until later on, that being this movie. And maybe it was one of the cities that, the Wonderbolts would represent in, games and trials and all that, as we saw in Rainbow Falls. You have to wonder, how far into the future it's been, of whether or not Heights was built upon Cloudsdale, or Cloudsdale evolved into Heights and they just decided to rename it, or if it's another town or another place in Equestria. You have to wonder how far it's been in advance, to where now They decide, hey, we're going to go back to the old days, and we're going to name ourselves, and we're going to give ourselves a queen. And that's where Haven comes in. That's where Pip and Zip comes in. You know, you got to wonder how far into the future it's been. And my estimation, tying this all in, if you will, from using the Bible as a reference, as an example, if you will, and all that, to what's going on here. Like I said in my previous video, I think honestly, and this is my opinion, guys, I think honestly, like I said in the video, I think nearly 5,000 years have passed. Because when you think about it this way, think about it. It's one thing for 1,000 years to pass, but yet history, is still, acknowledged. History, things that happened historically are still acknowledged as being true, as being fact. But as more, years go by and everything, things really start to change. Like what would be historical fact from only 1,000 years, as 2,000 years passes, there's still, people still look at it as truth and historical fact. But then as that time goes on into 3,000, then it starts to kind of get lost into translation. It's like now that truth and fact that you would still look at for historical significance from 1,000 years prior or 2,000 years prior starts to get lost into translation, and now some believe it to be true, and now some are starting to believe it's not. And then the more you get into time, the less factivity or factualness to those historical facts and truths become more urban legends, urban myths, fairy tales, bedtime stories. I mean, think about it this way. The story of King Arthur. The story of King Arthur has been told through various different interpretations, right? Various interpretations. Disney, most notably, and others. But even though some of these interpretations can have a little bit of looseness, can basically be over-exaggerated, depending on the scenario, there is truth to them. There is some truth to them. But the point I'm getting at is, despite there being some truth to them, despite some of the adaptations being a little over-exaggerated or a little loose with the adaptation, there are some that don't believe, the story of King Arthur. They don't believe some person was able to pull out a sword out of a stone that nobody else could, or perform some kind of unspeakable task, or unbeatable task, or something like that nobody else could. There are people that don't believe that. They don't believe that, for a single second. They don't. They don't believe, heck, you know what? What's funny is you have all these books by William Shakespeare, right? One of the greatest authors of all time, storytellers of all time. There are people that don't believe William Shakespeare even existed. They don't. They do not believe William Shakespeare ever existed. They don't believe it. The same with the guy Edgar Allan Poe. They don't believe he existed, despite the fact that books and poems and all that and all that basically, well, what I'm trying to say is, despite the fact that Edgar Allan Poe, one of the best authors of all time, and known for his grim tales and all that, very, Gothic-like. People don't believe he existed, despite the fact, this is what I was trying to get at, and I was just reading something that one of the viewers sent in on the live chat. Despite the fact that you have numerous books and poems written by this guy with his name, attached to them as being credited as the one that did them, nobody believes him. Nobody believes a word that people say about Edgar Allan Poe being behind this. They think it's somebody else. Same with William Shakespeare. Despite the fact that William has wrote all these classics from Hamilton to Romeo and Juliet, and many, many others, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Despite the fact he put in all the effort for these for these stories that have become synonymous, throughout generations and centuries and decades. Nobody believes, nobody believes, if you will, that he existed or that he wrote them. They don't believe that. And yet there's historical facts to prove it. I mean, my friend here even brought up, and going back to the Bible thing, there are people like myself, and more than you want to imagine, myself, my mom, my family, we all believe that Jesus is the Son of God and he died on the cross for our sins and resurrected 3 days later. But there are some that don't. Some believe the whole Jesus thing, and Lord forgive me for saying this, is all myth. It's all urban legend. It's folklore. It's fairy tale. And unfortunately, in this world, you just got to give them their own. You got to give them their, or not give them, but in this world, you just got to let them have their opinion. Is what I'm trying to say. You got to let them have their opinion. The only way that opinion is going to be changed is when the rapture, you start seeing a lot of signs of the tribulations and everything. The rapture occurs, the tribulations happen, and then that's when those people that don't believe, anything in the Bible being true, or don't believe Jesus being the Son of God, are going to wake up and go like, oh, maybe there was truth to it. Or if some big old event that's unexplainable happens, like a natural disaster happens simultaneously in all 50 states here, and there's no explanation as to why, and then they all stop at the same time, that's when these doubters will be like, oh, maybe there is truth to it. You see what I'm saying? And when you compare that to what's going on here in the movie, it definitely shows you that a lot of time has gone by. In my estimation, like I said in one video, is the fact that I believe honestly, that nearly 5,000 years have passed. Nearly 5,000 years have passed between Generation 4, Friendship is Magic, and Generation 5, A New Generation, because if they're supposed to take place in the same universe, the same world, and in somewhat the same continuity, then there's no doubt in my mind that a lot of years have passed. And I'm talking, thousands of years. And like I said, I believe it's nearly 5,000 years, because I look at the fact that if you're nearly halfway to 1,000,000 years between both, generations, then I think that's plenty of time for a lot of truthful facts, in moments that we saw occur in Friendship is Magic to be turned into folklore. So, and enough time for a lot of things to advance, technology-wise and stuff like that. But along with asking and wondering how much time has passed, between the generations, you also have to ask yourself, one, as I tried to mention earlier, you have to ask yourself and wonder, how did the dissension happen? What caused this distrust? And the other thing is, who came up with the crystals? Because besides the Crystal Empire and the Crystal Heart, we've never seen any other crystallized items. We know of the crystal ponies, and we know that any pony that's there when the crystalline takes place, that they get crystallized temporarily themselves. But besides the Crystal Heart, we've never seen anything else that's been crystal. And my thought basically could be, and hopefully maybe this might be the answer we're looking for, and maybe it is. My thought is that Twilight, Cadence, Flurry Heart, I believe those three came up with the crystals for the pony races. That's what I think happened. I think they came up with the crystals for the pony races to have, to not only keep their magic, wherever they are, but to be passed down through generations to those that are trustworthy, that they could trust to keep the magic for their race alive, despite what may happen. And to me, obviously, Argyle, Phyllis, and Alpha Little, if you will, were part of the generations that came prior to them that were entrusted with these crystals. Because it isn't until, and a bit of spoilers, but again, it's what are you going to do? Well, that might be true too, but we don't know. Um, Basically, what I'm trying to say, what was I trying to get at? Oh, yeah. Basically, uh, what was I trying to say? Oh, yeah. Let me get some coffee here. Nearly had a brain fog there. Um, it's early, too. It's about 9:49 still. Well, it's 9:49 a.m. Pacific time right now. But anyway, you take a look at. I was trying to say, you take a look at the fact that Argyle had a crystal, Phyllis, or Queen Haven, I should say, had a crystal, and Alpha Little, had a crystal. You have to think to yourself that that they come from a generation, that they are part of an ancestral descendral generation of ponies that had the crystals passed down to them for protection, just in case something happens. So, to me, I think honestly, and I might be proven wrong, I might be proven right. I think honestly that basically Twilight, Flurry Heart, and Cadence, maybe with the help of Celestia and Luna, maybe even Star Swirl, um, maybe not Star Swirl, but mostly Celestia and Luna, perhaps if they were still around, because they're alicorns, they're immortal, even if they gave up the crown, or gave up the crown and everything to Twilight. My thought process is Twilight, along with Cadence's help and Flurry Heart's help, and probably Celestia and Luna's, use the magic of the Crystal Heart to create these, crystal items. So that whenever any dissension does happen, between the pony races, that the magic that's infused in these crystals, to help, keep friendship alive and keep the magic going in Equestria, especially for the pony races, that basically that magic will be lost until the day comes where the next possible chosen one, in this case Sunny Star Scout, is able to bring everybody back together, in which she does. So you have to think, like I said, that Haven, Alpha Little, and Argyle, are part of that. Basically, those three are basically part of, family dissension or family descendings, or they're basically descendants, I should say, of families, generations of families of Pegasi, Unicorn, and Earth Pony that had these crystals passed down to them because they knew they could entrust them for their to keep them safe. That's why, you had basically Haven always wearing the crystal in her crown. She wanted to keep it safe. That's why, Argyle put the crystal into the little carousel he built for Sunny when she was a filly to keep it safe, and as well as to pass it down to her. And this is why Alpha Little, probably had the crystal himself. He didn't win it, basically. Oh, Alpha Belittle. Okay, thank you. Alpha Belittle. My bad. But, and this is why Alpha Belittle had, the crystal as well. Not just because maybe he won it, but maybe because he's had it the whole time and he always puts it on the line to see if maybe somebody, unicorn-wise, will be able to win it from him, and basically not only win it from him, but be the one that's, the next in line to safeguard it or something. So you have to think, maybe they descended from a generation of families that had those crystals passed on to them by passed on to them, chosen to be passed on, if you will, by, Twilight and Cadence and all that. Well, mainly Twilight. Like maybe, as I'm trying to say, is I think Twilight, along with Cadence and Flurry Heart and maybe Celestia and Luna, made these courtesy of the Crystal Heart, or with the help of the Crystal Heart, and basically it allowed them to choose the families that they would, in each pony races, to guard them and then maybe pass it down to their generation to keep them safe, just in case anything does happen to friendship, to the magic of friendship in Equestria, which of course did. So you have to wonder that. You have to wonder because when you look at the fact that they all basically connect together, they all fit together, it's That's not a coincidence, in my opinion. That is not a coincidence. So hopefully we'll get an answer as to as to where these crystals came from. But my theory basically is I think they came. I think honestly they came from the from the crystal with the help of the crystal. They came into existence, I should say, with the help of the crystal heart. Is what I'm trying to get at. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. But who knows? We'll see what happens. The other questions, obviously, people are going to have is what happened to Twilight? What happened to the main six, the main seven, if you will, the main eight? What happened to them? Does Sunset, have a place in this world, or what? Did she ever come back? Yes, that's a question too. People are going to want to know: did Sunset come back to Equestria? And because we see some items connected to Equestria girls. I mean, in fact, one thing that people pointed out that they noticed in the observatory in the lighthouse when Sunny was packed at the beginning of the film, I think, when Sunny was getting ready to go out and do her thing, they noticed a picture of the stone. The stone. Basically, this stone basically that was introduced to us in Forgotten Friendship, which was Equestria Girls. And the stone basically wipes the memory of a lot of people. Either it's the complete memories, or just memories of certain people, or whatever, or certain ponies. And basically, there's a picture of it, hanging up in the observatory in the lab. And that really got a lot of people's attention, because they're like, why would they deliberately put that there if there's not going to be a significance to it? And there might be, because if that stone in continuity is powerful enough to make not just one person or pony forget things or somebody, but a group of ponies and a group of students, in this case, as we saw in Forgotten Friendship, then what can it be? Then what is it possible of doing? What is it possible of doing in the hands of maybe a pony that's powerful enough to make everybody forget about friendship, everybody forget about getting together? What could it be capable of doing? And maybe that might play a role in the series, or even the follow-up special in a couple of months. Because why would you? And again, people pointed this out. Why would you deliberately put that there? Why would you put that stone that we see that was utilized, I should say, in Forgotten Friendship to make everybody forget about Sunset being nice because Wallflower felt lonely and she wanted friends. I think that's what her name was. Why would she use that? To make everybody forget about Sunset being nice, and then try to make Sunset forget about everybody, including her being, in a human form now, until her friends helped her out. Why would you put that there if you weren't probably going to come back to it in the future? And I think there's a possibility they're going to come back to it in the future. I just don't think you put that there for any Easter egg reason except potentially coming back to it. And that's not all either. One of the other things people pointed out was a drawing that Argyle had helped Sunny with, or at least he did himself, of a corrupted heart. And you have to think to yourself, that looks like it's in the shape of the crystal heart. So was somebody, in the Crystal Empire, like Flurry Heart, maybe corrupted? We don't know. And here's the thing. You put in all these clues, Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them, as to what possibly caused the dissension between the races once again, and all you're doing is you're basically building up questions to, for fans to hopefully get answered in the follow-up special or the series. Because it just doesn't add up as to why everything Twilight and her friends did to bring friendship and peace and everything back to Equestria, why it's suddenly just thrown away. It's just thrown away, if you will. Over time, it just doesn't make any sense. Just doesn't make any sense. Now, another thing that a lot of fans pointed out about, talked about this, and I pointed this out myself. Well, I not pointed it out myself, but I asked this myself. I asked this question myself. Is what about the runtime? And what they're talking about runtime is the movie itself. Now, we all know that there was originally, because we saw the animatic be posted online and everything, that originally there was going to be a song sequence between Argyle and Sonny, basically about the adventures of the main six and all that. We knew that was coming, but apparently that was cut out, or they changed it to what we got instead. So you have to wonder, had that not been cut out, along with any potential other scenes and stuff, would the movie been a lot longer? Because at 90 minutes, that's a good time. I mean, like I said in my review and in my impressions video, the first 15 to 20 minutes, that if you just take your time with it and you watch it for 1/2 hour, then you come back later and watch the next half hour, and you come back and watch the next half hour, you'll get through it. Not a big deal. But, you have to wonder of whether or not this was meant to be a lot longer than intended. Because, again, if you are cutting out potentially what was going to be a song between the Argyle and Sonny, you have to wonder what else got cut out or edited down. Like, what about the ending after Sonny becomes an alicorn and magic is restored and everything? Zip is pointing up at something, and either it's the aurora, and it's basically either the magic returning and everything, or which is basically looks like northern lights or aurora borealis lights. You have to wonder if maybe she was pointing at something else and that got cut out. My theory is maybe we saw, perhaps, this is my theory, perhaps what was originally supposed to be there, instead of them just going to Bridal Woods, that basically we were going to see maybe an image, like maybe it was a star-like image, or kind of like, we were going to see some kind of image, if you will, of Twilight and the main six. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we were going to probably see the main six, as we, saw them at the end. Well, maybe not with the, aged factor or anything. Maybe not with the age factor. But we were going to see them probably, some kind of image of them in the night sky. And then maybe Twilight just maybe acknowledging Sonny for what she has done, for the, restoration of friendship that she brought back. Again, that's just a theory. That's just a theory, because you have to think that was a little fast. That was like a quick, jump, if you will, like, whoa, where did that come from, kind of deal, right? Right? It's like, was this supposed to be something more? Because, Zip's pointing up at something, and all of a sudden, shoop, goes right to the transitions right over, or kind of, it kind of fades in, fades over to the Bridal Wood with the unicorns getting their magic back. So, you have to think to yourself if there was more to that scene, as well as some other scenes. Like, some people feel that some of the characters were not given enough development. Now, like I said at the beginning, and others have pointed this out themselves, that this is being served as an origin story. This is being served as not just a continuation to Generation 4 to an extent, because it's in the same universe, somewhat the same continuity, but it's also serving as an origin story so that Gen 5 can not only continue on that continuity continuity and lore established in Gen 4, but also but at the same time start to stand on its own and be its own thing. So, it's understandable that, that's what this movie was meant to be, to kind of set up the world and everything we were about to get into, or at least this new version of Equestria we're going to get into with the lore and basically the somewhat same continuity in being in the same universe still. So people can understand that and everything, but still there were some moments in the film where they felt, and I do agree, they should have been able to explore a little bit more in the characters or the scenarios, they were in. Like, they could have done a lot more with the campfire scene. They could have done a lot more with, with Sprout basically getting corrupted with power and everything. And they could have even done a little moment between Sprout and Hitch. They did do something, but they could have had more interaction with them. Like, you could have had Hitch, I wouldn't say fight Sprout, but basically try to get into the machine and try to fight control of the machine away from him to stop it from destroying the lighthouse. And maybe you could have had a moment there, between them, to where Sprout basically finally acknowledges he's sick and tired of being a Hitch's shadow. Maybe, I don't know. But I do agree there are some things that were cut out, and hopefully with the home video release on DVD, Blu-ray, and Ultra 4K, if you will, in the future, as well as digital, that we might get some bonus features that give us those deleted scenes. Either they're still animatics or they're fully animated. They just had to cut them out. And maybe, as I said in one video, in the video where I talked about this, maybe we might get an extended version. Like, we'll get a regular version on Blu-ray, DVD, and 4K, but then we'll also get an extended version to go along with that. But we'll see. We shall see on that. But overall, besides that, I can understand that this is just set up for the upcoming show and the follow-up special as well. To hopefully we'll get more answers. Hopefully we'll get more answers and everything. But in general, guys, it's a very good film. I'm not going to take that away from it. It is a very, very good film. It's a good way to set up the new world of Equestria that we're going to be entering. It's a good way to continue the same continuity to an extent of Gen 4, as well as it does give us, even though it leaves us, I should say, with a lot of questions that we want to have answered, it does make us want to see those questions get answered in the follow-up special in the series. And the characters are great. The characters are fun. Sunny is very likable. Izzy, I believe, is going to be a huge fan favorite. Zip, obviously, is already becoming a fan favorite. Pip, do not sleep on Pip. Do not sleep on Pip. She may have not done much here, but guess what? I truly believe this special in the series is going to do her justice. She is going to shine. Do not sleep on Pip. Because a lot of people, remember this, a lot of people slept on Rarity. They didn't think Rarity was going to be anything. Guess what? Boom! Rarity became one of the biggest pony faves ever. I mean, everybody from Josh Scorcher, a.k.a. Firebrand of Fob Equestria, and Ari, and Silver Quill, and all of them, they were won over by Rarity, not just because of Tabitha St. Germain's performance, but they were won over by the character itself, because there was more to this character than what they originally thought. And to me, I see the same here with Pip. So do not sleep on Pip. Do not sleep on the Pipster. But, yeah, overall, the characters are great. Hitch, I think, is a great addition. It's nice to see a male character in there. And I think he's going to really bring some balance to it. Whether they ship him or tease a ship or a romance with him and Sunny or him and Zip, whatever the case may be, I think he's a perfect addition because you need a male perspective. No offense. No offense when I say this, all due respect, no offense. But you need to have that male perspective of being in certain situations when they are. So, I mean, we did get that, I would say, in Friendship is Magic with Spike and Big Mac and some of the other male characters. But here to have one as part of like the main group, I'm all for that. But overall, yeah, the characters are very likable. The soundtrack, I think, is great. Gonna Be My Day. When I played that on here, whoo, still gets stuck in my head. It's so good. It's still, it gets stuck in my head. Still so good. So I'm really, really looking forward to what they have in store for us in the movie. I really am. And who knows? Who knows? We might get something out of this that I'm sure a lot of people would like to see happen. And that one thing a lot of people would like to see happen is a crossover. Because here's the thing. if you're going to basically cross over Gen 4 with Gen 1 in the comics, then it only makes sense that you cross over Gen 5 with Gen 4 and maybe use that crossover to kind of basically, get a connection going and figuring, as well as figuring out exactly what caused the dissension. Because if you can cross over the main 6, main 7, main 8 with the main 5 and some of their friends to find out the truth, to see what happened, I think you got a win-win here. I really do. I think you will have a win-win. Whether they make that as part of the series or they make that as part of this, the next special, or a couple of future or a couple of specials in the future. I'm trying to say, it's up to them. But I think a crossover would be great to see, and I believe that, and I believe they're going to be, and I believe what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to say is, I can totally see them already thinking about doing that. I mean, yes, not Tabitha, but Tara said she wouldn't voice Twilight again. Well, guess what? She said that, before the movie came out, and we saw her voice Twilight once again, even if her appearance was to lead into the fact that that Sunny and Hitch and Sprout were playing with the figures, and pretending for the and basically, sorry, just got tongue twisted there. But like I said, Tara, I know Tara Strongest never said she was gonna, not never said, but Tara Strongest said she would never voice Twilight again. But here's the thing, she said that, and then we saw her voice Twilight during that brief appearance at the beginning of the film. Where it led into the fact that the reason we saw the main 6 was because the characters were pretending to, be not the characters, but Sunny, Hitch, and Sprout were pretending to be the characters in a little bit of a playtime deal. So, basically, the way I look at it, I think they will get Tara Strong back. I think they'll get Tara Strong back. They'll get Tabitha back. They'll get Andrea back. They'll get Ashley back. They'll get Kathy back. I think they will get them all back. They'll get Nicole. I think they'll get them all back to voice the characters one more time for a potential crossover. Because again, you can't tell me that they don't see the fact that friendship is magic's still a big deal with everybody. That they won't be like, okay, we need to cross them over. So it'll be like we're passing the torch to, physically, and well, not physically, but visually passing the torch to the new generation by having them interact with Generation 4. So that'll be that will be something to look forward to when it happens, and I think it will. I don't think I don't think I'm the only one alone in that. And as I was trying to say before I got a little tongue twisted there, I think honestly, the people at Hasbro would like to see it happen, because if they're allowing IDW to do a crossover with Gen 4 and Gen 1, then it only makes sense that they'll probably do it visually on screen for Gen 4 and Gen 5. So we'll see what they do. But overall, though, like I said, the movie's good. It's very good. Like I said, it continues the continuity to an extent, somewhat, of Generation 4 Friendship is Magic, but it also serves as an origin story to allow the Gen 5 new generation characters and setting to, become its own thing. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as we get towards the special and we get towards, the series and everything on what they have planned. Hopefully, like I said, with the special, we'll get more answers to the questions that the movie opened up for us, like how much time has passed, how did the ascension happen and everything, things like that. And perhaps, as we get into the series, we'll get more answers as the series progresses, and maybe we'll get that crossover that I don't think, but I believe we will be getting. Because think about this. You take a look at all the other franchises that have been, rebooted and all that, rebooted and given new generation looks and all that. They've always had crossovers with the previous generations. We've seen that. We have seen that to no extent. Basically, TMNT is a good example. Saw the crossover there with them. We've seen Sonic in the Archie comic books in a way. crossover with previous generations. I mean, Sonic Generations is pretty much, a dead giveaway as him crossing over with his past self. You see what I'm saying? So, well, a sequel in the works. That'd be the special. That's the follow-up special, my friend. But anyway, you kind of get what I'm saying, right? So, anytime they've ever done this, it's been their own way of symbolically, I should say, passing the torch from the previous generation to the next. Like, basically, it's their way of saying it's your time now. Power Rangers has done this many times. No matter what new Power Ranger team we get, they always find a way to cross them over with the previous Power Ranger team, so that from a mini generational perspective, they're passing the torch to them. I mean, why do you think now you're seeing a lot of the Mighty Morphin and a lot of the Lightspeed, a lot of the In Space Rangers, showing up with a lot of these newer Rangers of today? It's not only to have these big old crossovers and battles and all that, but it's their way to pass the torch visually to the next generation, saying it's your time now. You're the best. Or is that, yeah, basically it's your time now. You go on and you become the best. And that's what they do. That's what they do. From a wrestling perspective, let's look at it this way. From a wrestling perspective, when The Undertaker took on Roman Reigns, even though his undefeated streak was already, kaput, if you will, thanks to WrestleMania 30. When Undertaker took on Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania several years ago, they had maybe not the prettiest match, but a physical match, and in the end, Roman beat Undertaker. Undertaker symbolically put his hat and gloves in the middle of the ring, indicating that maybe he was retiring, but also, in a way, by doing that, symbolically not only acknowledging that maybe he was done, but by Roman beating him, and I think he raised Roman's hand or something in respect, he was passing the torch to Roman. That's what he did. He passed the torch to Roman, saying, it's your time now to shine. And if you look at Roman Reigns now, I think that passing of the torch, that prophecy, is coming to pass. But like I said, I could see them working on something like that in the future, because it would make sense to go that route. And to me, it would make a lot of sense for them to do that. And they can cross-promote it. They can put it on Netflix, and simultaneously they can put it on Discovery Family. Because you can't tell me that they're not going to take this movie in the next several months, going into the series next year, and say, hey, we're going to premiere it during the holiday season, or we're going to premiere it on New Year's 2022 on Discovery Family as a 2-hour Saturday morning movie presentation. You can't tell me they're not going to do that, because they will. Because Discovery Family's had a history of taking a lot of Netflix shows and putting it onto their Saturday morning lineup. So I can see them doing that with this, and doing the same with the follow-up special and even the series as time goes on. But I can also see them doing a cross promotion for a special between both Friendship is Magic and the New Generation, because visually you could have the torch be passed, from Friendship is Magic to the New Generation. Just like the comics in IDW are going to probably visually have the torch passed from Generation 1 to Generation 4. So, we'll see what happens. But in the end, though, guys, I do recommend this movie. I do recommend checking it out. I mean, there are just parts in it that make you laugh and everything that are they're cute, they're enjoyable, they're emotional, and they're funny, too. They are really, really funny. I mean, the fact that the Pegasi guards, when they see Sonny and Izzy, and, one of the guards is kind of terrified of Sonny, and the other guard has to be like, you don't have to worry about anything. That's an earth pony. What I'm trying to say is when the Pegasus guard sees them, the one guard, I think his name's Thunder, gets a little scared a little bit because he's seen an Earth pony, and then the other pony's like, "Oh, you don't have to worry. They have small brains." And then Sunny's reaction is like, like that. It's like, oh, that was so fun. And then Thunder points out at Izzy, goes like, well, what do we do about that? And you see a big old smile on Izzy's face, like, hi. uh, I mean, she's just, Izzy to me, along with Zip and Pip, and look, Sunny's going to be a fan favorite, no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind, but if I was to look at ponies that will be considered, best ponies out of Generation 5, the three top for me are going to be Izzy, Zip, and Pip. I just, again, like I said, you can't sleep on Pip. People thought Rarity wasn't going to be anything. Guess what? So don't sleep on Pip. She might be more than you think. But yeah, it's going to be interesting as the series goes on. We'll see if anything from Gen 4 connects. Like maybe we might get into Pony. Maybe we'll see Ponyville. Maybe we'll see Canterlot, and we'll see exactly what's become of that. Who knows? Maybe when they go into Ponyville, if they explore that area in Canterlot, that instead of being, a kingdom and a city, bustling with life and ponies of all kinds and all that, that perhaps they'll see, a town and a kingdom that's in ruins. That they basically become exactly what Argyle described Equestria as, and that's ancient. They're now ancient ruins. Who's to say? But that's really all I'm going to say for right now, guys. But again, I do recommend checking this out. This is a great movie. It's a great, continuation to an extent of the lore and the continuity established in Gen 4. Friendship is Magic, as well as Equestria Girls to an extent. And at the same time, it's a good, origin, for the new generation. It's a good origin story and beginning for the new generation to kind of be their own thing. At the same time, like I said, as well as continuing the continuity to an extent, if not totally, of Friendship is Magic, and to an extent, Equestria Girls as well, to be explored more here in Gen 5, as well as be referenced and touched upon and all that, especially when it comes to trying to figure out exactly what happened between the pony races in what I would consider the near 5,000 years that have passed between the generations. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say on it, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below. Thank you for joining me in the live chat, guys. Really appreciate it. Check out my Teespring store for some merchandise. Check that out. Check me out at BW Rose's Discussion on all your favorite podcast locations except for Pandora. Still working on that. Check me out at BW Roses on Vimeo. Because I go there basically due to the fact that some PMVs or fan vids that I might, try to upload here on YouTube won't be playable for anybody to see because of copyright issues, mainly the song and all that. So go to my Vimeo and you'll probably at BW Roses and you'll be able to find, some, stuff there. Like the Speed Me Up video for Sonic Sat AM that I had to re-upload here was blocked once again. I don't know why. So I had to upload it on the BW Roses Vimeo channel, so check it out there. As well as check me out at Patreon at BW Roses, at Brian Walmer, if you will. Check me out there. $1 tier gets you a shout out. $3 tier gets you a shout out, as well as access to content you can't get anywhere else. Anywhere else on the web except for Patreon. And for a limited time on DeviantArt. So till next time, guys, thank you all for watching. I don't know what just happened there. It did a no data deal. Sorry about that. Hopefully nothing happened there. But thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in post stream, because I know some of you are probably in school or working right now. So hopefully you guys watch this later on. But thank you all for watching, and take care. God bless. I'm out. Y'all have a good rest of your Monday. There will be more videos coming. Package opening one will be next after this. Peace out.